So as an adjuster, and if you're an adjuster, you know, there are sometimes claims come across your desk and you're like, what is this? Like, what's going on? What do I even do with this?
You in the past, I'm in the future. You mad that they don't salute you. I need a bag.
Thank you so much for clicking on this video. If you're new here, my name is Keela Trishan, and I make videos on lifestyle, insurance, and mental health. I also do vlogs, day in the life in the insurance industry, day in the life of the toddler, all the things. So if that's something that interests you, go on ahead and click that subscribe button below. Be sure to turn on your notifications so you don't miss anything from me. And if you're returning, thank you so much for coming back, and thank you for your support. Okay, so I kind of want to do something new on my channel where I talk about claim scenarios that are common enough, but they can be one-offs, and just kind of walk you through how I would handle it. I am specifically making this video for like newer adjusters because I understand how tough it can be in this industry, especially when everybody's busy and you don't have anybody to ask. Your customers actually for an answer, and you just need to know how to investigate. So today, we're going to talk about a scenario where a customer reports a claim, and let's just say it's a water claim. And I'm only saying that because I have one of those right now. But they report a water claim and everything has been torn out, so you haven't had a chance to inspect. What do you do in this situation? If you're interested in what I do, definitely go on ahead and stay tuned. All right, so I'm gonna basically tell you guys the scenario. I'm gonna keep it kind of vague because you just never know who's watching, okay? And you let me know in the comments as I'm speaking if you see the red flags that I'm seeing, okay? So let's just jump right into it. Basically, I get this claim and it's reported a week late, okay? That's the first thing I see. Reported a week late, and the customer tells me that she was coming home from vacation and noticed that the whole house was flooded. This house is about 3,000 square feet. So I'm like, it had been leaking for a while for the whole house to be flooded. But okay, neither here nor there. I asked her if she knew what leaked. I said, okay, what caused the damage? She said she didn't know. She said, but the person that stopped the leak should know. All right. So then I said, okay, well, do we have an idea what part of the house it started? Do we know? Oh, I'm not really sure. I just know that everything was wet. Okay. So what did you do? She tells me that she reached out to a neighbor that gave her the information for a plumber, and that plumber wasn't able to get out for a little bit. So she reached out to a mitigation company. She Googled a water mitigation company, found this water mitigation company, and asked them to come out to assist her with the damages, or to like assist with like clean up the water. So somehow in the midst of this, the plumber did come out, but she wasn't able to tell me exactly when the plumber came out, because when we first spoke, she said that the plumber didn't come out until after the mitigation company came out. Then she told me that the plumber came out first and suggested the mitigation company. So it's like, did you Google them or were they suggested? So there we are. So then, we're kind of talking about what's going on. And so I'm asking her like, okay, well, have they removed any materials? Because at this point, I don't know that they've removed anything. She says, yeah, they basically have gutted the house. Like, we're not even able to stay there. I said, okay, when you say gutted, what do you mean? She says, well, they removed a lot of drywall. They removed a lot of the flooring inside of most of the rooms. They took out some of the shower. Like, it's just pretty much the house is unlivable because there's nothing in there. I'm like, okay. So I said, well, where are you staying? Oh, we had to get a hotel. Like, we can't, we can't stay in the house. It's too damaged. So yeah, we got a hotel. Okay. Because you're telling me the whole house was gutted, and because you're telling me that, there was a flood, I said, okay, was it in your personal property damage? She says, oh yeah, everything that was in the way of the water was damaged. But she's not being specific. I said, okay, well, can you give me like an idea? Like, what type of items are we talking about? I'm assuming furniture, things like that, because that would be in the way, of the damage. And she's like, oh yeah, all the furniture, all the beds, all the this, that, and third. I said, okay. So I said, well, I do need to come out and do an inspection of the damages to determine coverage. I made sure I say that because you've already told me that you removed a lot of stuff. So I need to come out to see for myself what's going on. So she says, okay, well, you can come. Like, when do you want to come? I work a lot, and so does my husband. So I could try to have someone meet you there. I could try to have him meet you there. I said, well, how about whatever day I said? She said, okay, that's fine. But she told me that her husband was going to be there. So I get there, and there is no one that's an insured that is on site. It is the mitigation vendor. So I'm asking the mitigation vendor, what's going on. I'm asking them the same questions, like, okay, well, what leaked? They're like, oh, we don't know. You have to ask the customer. So I'm confused because don't nobody know what's going on, right? So I said, okay. All right. So I just started inspecting. When I tell you everything was torn out, there were flood cuts in every wall. Every wall. I'm talking about from the front of the home to the back of the home. All the closets, like there were flood cuts everywhere. There was tile missing in the bathroom, like they had put up the floors. There was tile that was on the wall that was like removed. Everything was removed. They had some of the appliances were sitting outside, uncovered, like they're not protected. They're just sitting out in the sun and just chilling. And it was just bad. Like kitchen stuff was removed, like things that just didn't make sense to remove. Like, okay, based on what you're telling me, it doesn't make sense for this to be removed. So it was pretty intense. So whatever. At this point, it's like the burden of proof again is on the customer. Well, I don't know if I said that in the beginning, but the burden of proof is on the customer. So if you remove everything before we have a chance to take a look at it, then you're gonna have to provide to me, like what was going on before, so I can determine if coverage would have applied. Because you might be in a situation where you got to pay for all this yourself. You can't just rip up your house and tell the insurance company, hey, pay for it. Like, we need to be able to inspect it. That is a part of the policy. So I do my inspection, note my file, cool. I don't have any information to move forward because I know nothing. So now I'm going to tell you what I asked for and what you should do if you're in a situation like this. So the first thing I'm asking for, which is key, okay, is going to be who fixed the leak. I need to know who fixed the leak. So whether the customer can tell me who fixed the leak, whether the mitigation company can tell me who fixed the leak, I need to know. I need their contact information. I need a copy of the report. I'm going to talk to them to find out, hey, what happened in your words? What did you see? When did you come out? What did you discover? What was damaged when you got there? A lot of times there'll be situations where one person will tell you this and then the vendor's like, oh no, well, it was just this. And I told them to do A, B, and C. So you can kind of catch people up like, okay, well, he said this. So, what's going on? Because 1 + 1 ain't adding up to 2. I don't understand. So get the information for the vendor that came out to fix the leak, if they're saying the leak was fixed. If you're in a situation where you're having trouble getting that information or whatever, you need to start bringing out your own vendors. So what I did, because I was having trouble getting this plumbing information from this lady, she couldn't even tell me the name of the plumber. She had a partial name. She couldn't give me the contact information, any of that. Like the contact information should be in your phone, but whatever. So I sent out my own leak detection company. Sent out my own leak detection company. So they could kind of give us an idea of what happened. This leak detection company goes out. They say that they can't really determine what happened because they're like, there were no active leaks. It looks like everything was fixed. If it was fixed, we can't really assist you. Like, we just see that material has been torn out. Pretty much like the same. I was in the same boat as I was when I went out to inspect. So then I asked the vendor, I said, okay, well, did you happen to see any new plumbing? Now, this is key because if they're not able to find anything, did you see anything that looked like it might have been new? Anything shiny? Anything that like stands out? Like, okay, this is definitely new, whereas these other things have, been here. They're existing. The vendor said, no, I didn't see anything that looked new. I searched, he said that he looked through all the plumbing and drain lines, did not find anything. So I'm like, okay, whatever. So finally, I get the information over to the customer, tell her like, hey, they weren't able to find anything. So we're still, in the same boat. Meanwhile, she's asking me for coverage. Like, oh, well, what's going on with the claim? Nothing, ma'am, because I can't determine, I don't even know what happened. So I can't determine if it would have been a covered loss or not. So she says, okay. So somehow she finally gets me this plumbing gentleman's information. Now I'm Inspector Gadget, okay? Like, I'm gonna find the information, especially if I feel like you BSing with me. So I looked up the plumber's information. I found some questionable things, like it looked like he was running the business out of his home, which is not always, like a red flag, but without getting into too much detail, this was a red flag. When I put it up on the maps, I'm like, okay. The person's information, it was an out-of-state number. And usually, like, if you're running a business, you would have, like, your number, like, you would have some type of business phone number, just all these things. And then the information on the plumbing report was inconsistent. Also, when the lady sent me the plumbing report, it was forwarded to her from the mitigation vendor who said they didn't know what was going on. That was a red flag to me because y'all both told me you didn't know what was going on, but somehow you have a copy of this report. I'm confused, right? So there's that. I end up doing a recorded statement with the lady. That's another thing. So some insurance companies are going to require that you do a recorded statement with every claim. But a lot of times they want you to do a recorded statement when there is a fire, or they want you to do a recorded statement when there's like inconsistencies. So we can get the customer, like we want you to say in your words what happened. So we can help with our investigation. Because if you say anything different, we can go back like, you said this. We're trying to figure out what's going on. So I do the recorded statement with the lady. and she's trying to, you know, make me feel bad, like, oh, I had to take off work for this. Like, you have a whole claim. So you're not providing me the information that I need. So if you need to take off work, you got to do what you got to do. You want coverage, right? So we got to figure this out. So I do the recorded statement, same thing, inconsistencies, like she's saying things that she didn't say in the first call and whatever. It's not my job to decipher that in that moment. It's just my job to get the recorded statement. So that's going to be my second tip, get a recorded statement. I also had a vendor come out with me. I didn't mention this in the beginning, but I did have a vendor come out with me to the inspection to do a comparable bid. Because if, in fact, we move forward with coverage on this claim, I'm going to have a vendor do a bid for what they would have charged us. And the reason why you want to do that is because some companies will like over demo, like they'll remove way more than what needs to be removed. So you'll want to bring in a vendor that's on your program to kind of give you an idea of if this was warranted, you know, if this loss is valid, was this warranted or was it not? So that's another thing. You can get comp bids and stuff just so you can kind of have it on hand if you end up covering the claim. Let's see, what else did I do? Oh yeah, so it basically got to a point where I was not able to get these questions answered. I'm asking her for different I'm asking for different information. I'm not able to get it. I also asked the vendor for pre-demolition photos. That's another thing. You want to ask for, like, if you're going to tear everything out, then you need to be able to provide me with what it looked like beforehand. When I got these pictures, some of them were like super close up to where you couldn't really tell what room it was. So that's another tactic that some vendors will use. Like to just kind of throw you off. It's like you can't really get, like, they're providing you with the pre-demo photos, but it's not really giving you the information that you need. So one of the photos did show that there was like some rot on some of the flooring, which is not something that the insurance company would cover. So it leads me to believe, okay, were you guys pulling that out so we wouldn't see it, so we could just cover it? Because if so, that's not how it works. So yeah, ask for pre-demolition photos from the customer and from the vendor, because again, they have a duty. Not only the vendor, but the customer has a duty to provide you with the information to help you determine your coverage decision. So I did all of this and still was not able to get the information that I needed to move forward with making a coverage decision. So I moved on to my next step. So the next step, when you have a claim like this, where everything's been removed, you're not able to get the information to where you can kind of piece together what happened, you're not getting the documents that you need and all that, sometimes you have to go ahead and just refer it to SIU, which is a special investigations unit, okay? So that's what I had to do on this one because there was too many inconsistencies. Her answers weren't making sense, and it almost sounded like she was being coached to say certain things. And then just like the facts kept changing. So if you're telling the truth, the facts aren't going to change. But if you're lying, either you're forgetting what you told me before or you're just caught up, you know, so you're just trying to, you know, figure it out as you go along. So I ended up referring it to SIU. At first, SIU wasn't going to take it because they were like, oh, you know, continue with your investigation, then send it back to us if it's, you know, if you still have inconsistencies. So that was what I basically did. That's why I did all the extra investigation, because they weren't going to take it at first. But they finally did take it because I'm like, okay, I did this, this, and this, and I still don't have the information. So as of today, this customer was just like, you know, I'm off today, but you know what I'm saying. When I'm at work, I'm back tomorrow. So the customer was basically asking me like, what's going on? She's thinking that she provided everything because she's been cooperative to a certain extent. And I'm like, you know, your claim is like, we're still investigating coverage. So if you end up in a situation where you have to refer the claim to the special investigations unit, you don't want to tell the customer that you refer them to the special investigations unit. Because one, it's just, you don't want to tell somebody they're being investigated. Like, that's crazy. But then two, you don't want to give them that inkling. You still want to keep the customer service up, right? You still want to be responsive and you still want to treat them like a human being, because here's the thing. Things could be inconsistent, but they might actually be telling the truth. They just simply might not know how to articulate themselves. That happens also. They don't realize that they're being shady, you know, or that they're sounding shady, should I say. But then you have situations where people are legit trying to stage something and they think that they're getting over on you, you know, and sometimes they'll back out of the claim, or sometimes they will get an attorney or whatever, you know. So you just want to make sure that you are giving them as best customer service as you can and just letting them know that the claim is under investigation. At the end of the day, I explained to this person that, you know, because we didn't have this, that, and third up front, we have to do a little bit more digging. And, you know, until we get the answers that we need, unfortunately, coverage is on hold. So, yeah, that's pretty much it with that. Because, again, it's ongoing. I've had situations like this before. Some claims have been covered. Like the SIU department determined that there were not enough red flags, or there was nothing they could find to prove that it was fraud. So you just pay it as normal. But there were times where I've had people withdraw their claim, or I've had people, you know, get super angry because now they're caught, you know. And this is a felony. Like, you can get in a lot of trouble depending on, you know, what your claiming, you can become non-insurable. You can be put on a list. Like, it's a lot of like bad things that could happen. So yeah, anywho, that is the claim scenario for today. Again, if you guys have claim scenarios that you want me to cover or anything that you're interested in, let me know. Drop it in the comments, because I want to make videos like this kind of on a regular, just so I can walk you through like how to investigate situations like this if they come about. Again, not every situation is cut and dry. Sometimes you have to do a little more digging, but there is always a way to resolve your claim. You just have to kind of have the tools to do so. So if you enjoyed this video, if you learned something, definitely go ahead and give me a thumbs up. It really helps with the YouTube algorithm. If you made it this far and you have not subscribed, please go ahead and click the subscribe button below. Turn on your notifications so you don't miss anything from me. And with that being said, you guys have an amazing day, and I'll see you next time.
You mad, they don't salute you. I need a bag, size is super. They turned your back, it's like I never knew you leave.